from the first time that I said to a kid in class that I wanted to learn how to surf, the kid looked at me and was like, "But you guys don't even swim."
Surfing has been kind of under the radar, flying as exempt from some of the ills of society.
Hatred is not welcome on the beach, period. That's not what surfing is about.
Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Waves, a series focusing on some of the more neglected topics in surfing. My name is Dylan Graves. Meeting new people and discovering unique surf communities around the world has been the highlight of my career. It's no secret our sport has its fair share of social dilemmas that seem to be extremely polarizing. And we wanted to get closer to some of them, at least from a surfer's perspective, to see if that made things any clearer. In this episode, I'm trying to hone in on race and inclusivity in surfing, because you might be as surprised as I was to find that racism still exists in our lineups today. This brought up a lot of questions for me when it came to our sport, but the main one being, how is this still happening?
First of all, thank everybody here. I gotta thank everybody here for coming out to the Black Sand Peace Paddle. So we got into a little traffic jam that ended up getting resolved. It's normal, like, hey bro, my bad, didn't mean to get mad at you. But a third party enters, dude comes and starts really just verbally attacking me, calling me the N-word, 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 over and over, faggot, donkey, paddle down to that beach, you don't belong here, paddle down to El Porto, you guys don't belong here. What happened here at the pier on the north side was just beyond unacceptable, and everybody has to feel a sense of responsibility about what occurred. You know what I mean?
This wasn't a memorial paddle out. It was a paddle for awareness in response to what transpired in the lineup, offering a chance for everyone to talk about ways we can help surfing become anti-racist.
Being not racist is not enough. Being anti-racist is what we need. Because in that moment, had anybody out there been anti-racist, then I would have had some allyship. But in that moment, it was me and Gage alone with a bunch of other people around who were maybe not racist, but they weren't anti-racist and they didn't stand for us in that moment. You know what I mean?
If you see something, say something.
If you're silent, you're complacent, right? And you gotta, if you know it's wrong, say something. It's pretty simple. And the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. It's basic, and it's not a black brown. It's a human rights thing. It's a human thing.
They'll say something like, "Oh, you surf now? Your people surf?" It's wild that, strangers can just come up and, say whatever they want. And they feel like it's a safe space in the ocean to do that. Everybody can be proactive and be anti-racist. And, if you see some whack shit happening in the water, call it out.
We can do that together, but we can't do it quietly. And we can't do it just today. We got to do it every day in the way we surf and the way we live.
We want to kind of amplify the idea that there are things that happen in the water that are really horrific and really horrible, like what brought us out here today. But there's also a whole set of microaggressions that amount to people of color feeling like they don't belong. So we're trying to shift that. We're trying to show people that they do belong. They don't have to adhere to a culture that's not designed for them. They can carve out their own culture in their own lane, and we can build surfing culture into something more communal, something more based on compassion and, something as simple as what we learned as a kid, just sharing.
That is literally the skin in the game and being anti-racist, because until we can bring that kind of energy, where people know when they paddle out at this beach, none of this will be tolerated because they will be called out by their own, that is when we are going to make a difference in this culture.
Meet Selema Masekela. You might recognize him from his many talents within the action sports world. Last year at the Unity Paddle Out, Selema gave a speech that was so powerful it seemed to shake the surf world to its core.
Racism is not a thing that we will stand for in the United States of America.
All this info hit me like a bolt of lightning and made me realize not only how much is still festering in our sport, but how I felt like I was contributing to the ignorance surrounding this topic, especially in surf. So I thought diving deeper with Selema on all this might shed further light as I continue to learn.
Where do you want to begin talking about all this?
It's not something that I wake up in the morning and I want to talk about. I really just like talking about surfing and going surfing and loving the thing and Like the idea that that for some people that we are even having the conversation is like, not here, you're fucking up the vibe. Well, the vibe's already fucked up. But having the conversation is actually like to make the vibe not fucked up.
Right.
You know?
And a common thing that I'm hearing when I talk about, race and surfing and the different conversations I've had, it's sort of like, yeah, well, I don't feel racist. I have a lot of black friends.
If having a black friend was like the magic pill to end racism, we'd be so far past this already. I know because I've been the black friend for a long time, and I constantly have to lovingly put my friends in place when they are unaware of the racist shit that they are saying. People didn't have a problem, I've never had a problem coming up to me and saying like, oh, it's really cool that you're out here doing this, doing our thing. And be like, what? You're a different kind of black guy. You're more like us. That's rad, bro. And thinking that they're paying me a compliment.
Something I wanted to touch on with you was that moment with Tyler Wright in that QS event earlier this year, her just having BLM on her surfboard.
During the peak of the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020, Australian World Tour surfer Tyler Wright used her platform to voice support.
Taking a knee for our First Nations people who have lost their lives in custody, for racial justice and equality for all.
And while there was encouragement from some corners, the overall feeling was that fans of hers and surfing in general just didn't want to hear the fact that this conversation was needed.
I was blown away by how much of it was so vile and so angry and so hateful. Like, are pro surfers just supposed to be robots that like dance for you and like you clap for them and then you want them to just shut up? Like, are they not human beings? There have just been so many times where athletes have had no choice but to make a stand. Like, you look at Jackie Robinson in baseball. Like, Muhammad Ali was like the most hated dude in America. If you look at the Brazilian Storm, the way surfing treated Brazilian culture, like how for the longest time it was just cool to just bash Brazilians and Brazilian culture and make fun of their language, and because no one ever thought that they were gonna like rule the world.
In case you've been living under a rock for the last 10 years, the storm Salema is referring to is a generation of Brazilian surfers who were so talented and willed, they undeniably smashed through years of bigoted comments and barriers to completely own the top stage of the sport. With Brazilian surfers winning 4 of the last 6 world titles, it's clear there's no argument. The Storm is a beacon for inclusivity and hard evidence of a sport progressing from embracing these ideals. I wanted to dive a little deeper on the Brazilian side of things, so I decided to reach out to a few people who might be able to touch on certain aspects of the Brazilian Storm's path and what it's brought to surfing. Adriana de Souza, 2015 WSL World Champion, was a key component in the Storm's rise and dominance of surfing, who kindly sat down with us for a chat.
Back in the day, everyone like, nah, this guy's not going further. That's it. Like, shut it down before you just stand on a board, on a wave, you know? Brazil, we have a history back only like 40 years ago, you know, and then I compare with America, have 100 years. Australian have 100 years and have a 20 world champions. Every time I hit the win any kind of contest, and then I'm not still in a magazine, I'm not still on the interesting, and every fucking contest and I compete and no one's putting me as a favorite, and I won 7 events. I was like, and I made 15 finals. That's crazy. And then every contest, and I said, nah, the ocean's gonna save me, I'm good.
Look beyond the Brazo. Can you even say that? Oh, I honestly don't know. There was a 2009, I believe, snapper, or the Quicksilver Press Gold Coast. Adriano made the final, and I mean, everyone was just discounting him, slighting him, and every article about the contest was Taj blew it, Taj tanked, let Adriano beat him. Adriano was ripping, and like everyone was just talking shit. Like, like it wasn't deserved or something.
Yeah, I guess what's your take right now with where the sport's at? How do you feel Brazilians are being perceived?
One of the big examples I give to my friends, or always people asking me that, like, man, the way Felipe surfing at J-Bay, he's changed everything. Like the history of surfing in that spot like 50 or 60 years ago. And then he changed the way to surf. I felt better to know we changed the criteria of surfing than bringing trophy to home. He put his name beside it is Brazil, you know, and then kind of together, you know, that Brazilian change.
That's true.
The surfing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, each one of you has done so much for the sport of surfing, like in the last 10 years, that it's like, it's awesome to see where surfing is, because, you know, just different cultures coming in, different perspectives. I think surfing needs more of that.
I'm happy, you know, just to get, like, break those walls, and then I'm not gonna say we are on the top of the world and like relax. Nah, we need to still like keep rolling, you know, and then we have a long road, you know.
It is getting to that point where people can just look at someone like Yago and be like, I like the way he surfs. He has a sick style and does huge airs, and they can just say Yago is my favorite surfer, not even mentioning that he's from Brazil.
What's happening to Brazil right now could be happening to any other nationalities. Like, the more inclusive it gets, the more entertaining. Like, you have like all these different personalities in there, which are fun to follow, like different styles of surfing, and everyone has their own singular thing. And I think that's the beauty of it. And there's not like a right or wrong, like you're just doing your own thing. And when I started, I would only watch Kelly, Joel, Taj, and those guys, and now they're watching us.
You guys have kind of kicked down the door in that department.
yeah, and I'm sure like a lot of people from other nationalities are gonna come up really strong and step up their game and like put the Brazilians down maybe someday. And yeah, that needs to be your goal.
To me, that's why the Brazilian Storm was so impactful. Because prior to that moment, it was always this idea that you could talk shit about the best Brazilian surfer. How is it out there? Waves are good, but there's like a couple of Brazilians out.
You still hear that today.
You still hear that today, exactly. And to me, that shit was like, as someone who like experiences bigotry and like knows the notes and the frequency of racism, that shit always felt racist to me. It always felt like, y'all are a little too convenient with this. Like the amount of the jokes and the fact that like, even in the magazines, people could speak freely and just shit talk these people who just got surfing. Like, they're the last people to the table from a really crazy, like, you know, political history, etc., economic history, and we're just gonna write them off without like understanding why it's the case. Like, they have nothing, but they love this thing in a different way.
I know some of this may feel like a sting to surf culture as we know it, but let's get real. We need it, and surf culture is changing. Time to check our egos and figure out solutions. If you look hard at the Brazilian Storm, they've expanded the sport in ways it wasn't being pushed to before. My point being, what else has surfing been missing out on?
We're all learning how to be allies. We're all learning how to be accomplices instead of just passive.
Key is education. Talk stories. Share these experiences so people know, oh, fuck, that's still happening?
Hatred is not welcome on the beach, period, in the ocean, period. And we're all brothers, we're all playing for the same team, we're trying to get that same feeling.
I mean, I want to see more black and brown women and people of color in general, like just enjoying these spaces, and for the lineup to look like my community.
What I would like to see is that, like, you can't just pick a surfer out of the lineup because of like a look that it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, I would like surfing to be reflective of the diverse landscape of what makes this country up, what makes the world up.
I feel like it's a start just to have conversations like these and to connect person to person. This is just rad to look into someone's eyes and have a conversation like this. And I think it's going to take a lot of these for us to get to somewhere that's, you know, I guess more inclusive.
It just requires empathy and curiosity. And that's what I would ask people. Be empathetic. Attempt to feel what others might be feeling when they tell you they're experiencing something. And then be curious. Ask questions. Be curious. Want to know about different types of people and how they might be experiencing the thing.
This episode to me confirms the power of conversation and simply listening, which is always needed if we want to be truly open to the best version of surfing possible. Which in a rapidly growing sport is more important than ever that we pay attention to the how we're all progressing and growing along with it. We need to stop and make sure we aren't doing this at the expense of others. Surfing has always been a trend-setting sport. So think about this for a second. What if the next trend surfing provided to the world was anti-racist? What if surfing was the most inclusive sport out there? It's ideas like this that drive me to talk about these tricky subjects because I'm proud of being a surfer. And I think all of us are, and know we all want to continue to be. But like Adriano made apparent, there's always room for improvement. And I think therein lies the beauty of this world we live in, if we can not just put our differences aside, but celebrate them.